Trump, the King, and the Dragon, China. Let's bring this stuff together. As this morning we're showing in Texas a bridge burn on the train track, and this is going to be connecting to your Euphrates drying up. But this canyon, this bridge burn, the train on the theater edition, as it's coming for the blockbuster. Okay, we've been tracking this Back to the Future part 1, 2, and 3 in different ways and learning these clocks and mirrors and whatever else the past few years. But as these things are all coming together, this is where on part 3 they go back to the Wild West and they got to get the DeLorean up to 88, but there's no gas or whatever kind of thing. So this is where they're using the train to push it over. The DeLorean, the Mandalorian, the John DeLorean, all these things are tying into different breakoffs into the Matrix, but the John connects you to your Robin Hood, your Robinetta. That's the Batman / Joe Robinetta, Biden, and then you have Trump connects to Batman in one spectrum. One is the Hebrews Wayne, and that Hebrews, the Bruce Lee, the Hebrews Lee, all those things are interwoven. Okay, so and then the dragon, the serpent, the devil, the lion, the Satan, all those things are going together in one spectrum. The Jesus, the serpent, and all those things are going together on another spectrum, and all these things are coming together on the world stage and within everyone, as there's been a world deception on the world been playing out, that we're now being told about the aliens being here, and we're being told that they use the technology wrong, and the Sam Altman, which is a flip back on the X mess, the Sam, the mess, and the X is the replacement for the Christ, and we have various X's on the earth right now, and X-Man is tied to SpaceX. The Elon Musk is tied to the 4x4 or 2x4, the Biden, the X-Man there. He's also the 46th, the begotten, part of the cross. Trump is also the 46/47th. All presidents have 2 numbers, but they go by the second number, but that is also a hidden backside on the 46, but that's where these things are all tying in a spectrum, and the a lion, the alien, the man, all those things are all being released at a certain time as we're in this little golden ratio sequence, and the black hole of Earth and all these things are consuming itself, and we're going into this little area of the black hole and the AI and all that stuff, and then this can break off to multiple worlds or whatever, and these all connect to different pyramids and however it goes, but and then it's also connecting to a new world on top of that, and for the new heaven and earth. So this is where one's coming in and one's gathering the other. This is where the old God of this earth is using the new technology wrong that the aliens are so-called bringing to control it or whatever and set the new going. So what's going on is basically in the rainbow color spectrum, we live in the green, all right, and the red is during the daylight and the violet is at night, okay? But we, as this visible spectrum, okay, we're levels of human beings. So this is where you can actually have the Milky Way. That is a star city, and when you're out in the really dark areas and such, you can see all kinds of stars just moving across, all right? It's probably not shooting, these are probably just like moving or whatever else kind of thing, but as we are like the middle ground, this is where you have the levels where they're saying there's levels of humans, and you can see in infrared vision, they show, you can see a lot of craft a lot easier, but this is where they're bringing the infrared vision to the world stage through the so-called chemtrails, and those kill trails are tied to your Kim Jong-un, okay? Either way, so as you get levels of earth or levels of air or whatever, this is where you get maybe you go to the caves, and the government controls most of these real deep caves or whatever. This is where they can go to other areas, and where one's controlling the other, and where You have spiritual and flesh and the battle of those coming in between us, as you have layers of dimensions of human beings. So it's a whole nother little thing, but that's the war of the worlds. And as this black hole consumes itself, or consumes worlds, consumes light, instead of, it just grows. Okay, so it just is expanding. As it expanding, that panda and the Batman and the cave system and all that stuff is coming as you're going in, and those types of things. And your headlight is controlled by that dude up there, and then he turns it off. He takes advantage of you in a way. Either way, folks. Page was I on? So in a few days, the Canyon Bridge, the Texas, that highest mountain, the 4.7 million feet tall or whatever it was, I got into in the other video with the give or take a cowboy hat, and it's a cultural force. The boot heel, the pride, the barbecue smoke, and the boot heel ties into the mountain spur, and got stuff in Alaska that ties to your horse rider galloping, and the high stakes, and as far as your horse racers, whatever. But to make a horse drink water, which is possible, you just got to run them first. Okay, so this is where they're going to run them, and all the water they've been given is kind of tainted. As it's tainted, they're going to hit the balls, the vagina, or the butthole. Okay, so, but as they're going backwards, they're going to be hitting at Uranus first. The body is a temple, and once you learn certain things, you can read that temple, and that taint versus chode, that choke for the neck and all that shit is all kind of coming in a way. So the high stakes meeting with Trump, 8/15, last year, 55th day of Melania being, or I'm sorry, she was 55 for 111/112 days. 8/15 is a flip on the 5/18 coming up, and Trump just happens to be there with the king and the dragon or whatever during the 2756 week of the dragon being dead, which is 52 years and what was it, 9 months and whatever. Either way, the 2756 equals the 9/11 in 3 days, or on the 5/17/18, the flip on the 8/15 high stakes. And we've been tracking these stakes and high stakes searings and all that kind of stuff. So as that's been going on, this day coming up, 5/18, happens to land on the 2756 3-day, and that ties into your 9/11/3, which ties into your 3,119 days between Trade Center 93 to the world, or 9/11/2001. And then the flip on that's the 9/11/13, which you're already going to clock on these things or whatever. And then you can do another clock on the 9/93/11, the 9/1/3/1, the 9/3/1/3, all these little things as you break down this math and break apart. But so we're being told that this, to tie in a time machine sequence, because the X-Man, the Sam Altman, is going around and scanning eyeballs, and that's the eye to eye and the iris. They can tell all these diseases and all that stuff, but they're human to see if you're human. All right, human versus man, and the man shall wither away, and the alien take over and elevating to the next level and whatever else. So that X-Man, the Christ /X, is on one level. The mass is another name for, or it's the flip on Sam, which is another name for Satan. Either way, and then Satan is tied to your Santa, which is tied to the North Pole and the cold and the Illuminati, as far as your, it's your Illuminati worship through Santa, teaching you the good versus bad, and they have been shining a light on the deception, basically. They're telling you that aliens have been here, that they've been using the technology wrong, and we've seen this, that, and the other. the Biden, the begotten son, has been here. He has placed this and that and the other. We've had Obama attaching us to a time sequence with the little green men, and all these little things. So this is where you're going to see this, but Obama is tied to a double moon spectrum as he's part of an eclipse, and that's where the dark sun / moon came, the dark side of the moon came out first, but then now you're on the reflective side where the Biden was, and then you have the Kamala, which is another dark side of that side. So this is where you have these little things going on, okay? And then they have to be of a mixed flesh in a way, because you have the moon supposedly reflects the light of the sun, right? So that's where you have a real man of sin coming. That'd be like ye or whatever. Ye has not would be coming, just as an easy example. And he's also been shown as Jesus, and I walk with Jesus, all those types of things. So this is where he's being shown on that level, where you're going to have a real dark sun come in, and not that hybrid situation. Okay, the hybrid situation ties into the hybrid aliens and those spectrums or whatever, right? So that's where you have white devil, black devil, and the hybrid / groom situation for the Jesus and whatever. And this is where all these things are being set up. Okay, so and we're in those time frames as you're in the 47, the 11, and then you go, which is when you check those bankruptcies for the fishers of men, the eagle, the dragon, interchangeable, and the scooping, the ice cream scoops, and all that shit, right? And the scoops takes you back to the Harvey, and the Harvey takes you back into the Kamala, and the Harris, and the Jar, and the 22/55/2552 sequences for your Revelation 22 clock into your new heaven and earth for the alphabet zone on the Z26 and Z28, and the DNA sign, the and all those things. So either way, folks, you get up to that 30 zone on the longer alphabets, and then that takes you into a long zone on a little toilet paper sequence to 2 years after the 28 and all those things or whatever. But we'll get together on all those things soon enough. But this I did a post earlier showing all the zeros. These are for that incubination and crownings and week counts and whatever else, and that takes us into another countdown, but that's also connecting us to a 9/11 clock also on, I think it was the 74th week, right? /75th if you count the week or don't count the week. But and then both of those are popping off on the numbers we've been tracking. Okay, so the 72, flip on the 75 with the 72 to the 73 with the dragon, the Bruce Lee, the Hebrews Lee, and that ties into the man with a pitcher of water. He talks about the water and follow the man with a pitcher of water and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so the drug, the zombie drug, all these things are kind of tying in. The zombies, the bees, the beekeeper, the dojo, the Sifu, the CFU, the FU or UFC, all that kind of thing is going together for a teacher. So the Dana White, the White House, the zombie drugs, the trank coming over America. That's where I've told you there's been different layers of these things playing out. And then also California is reporting a budget of 0 or whatever by 2028 and such. So we're going to see how a couple things play out, and we'll do an update on those kinds of things, because this will be kind of tied to a Metatron kind of thing coming. And then it can also be tied to where Gavin is getting to a point where he may not pay in the taxes for next year or whatever kind of thing. And him and Trump play that prophecy where I was giving you for the against the TX us, but that TX us, that cross, those kings. Now that we're in this time sequence or whatever, Abbott's playing a role, DeSantis playing a role, Newsom's playing a role, the Newsom's tied to the neck and all that shit. So this is where California, fourth size economy, brings in this much money to America. Basically China, everything's made in China. Okay, it's where California kind of goes to that China in one way, and then it breaks off in a whole new spectrum, and then California is doing its own gas and those things, and it has more electric cars and all whatever kind of thing. So we can see like a new thing setting up here, and they've gotten rid of homelessness, or they're working on doing all these things. And this is where the zombies are just kind of being gathered up. They're going to wake up into a whole new area, right? They're going to get the help they need and whatever else is going to be going on. So, and then also this wave from California and the West Coast is going to the East Coast, just like I told you. And this is where, when the market crashes and all these things replay and whatever, this is where everything on that continental divide kind of goes downhill in a way. And the tent cities and all this stuff comes for walking around, that cardio, that incarnation across in another way starts coming for y'all as you're on those crossroads. Okay, so this is where either way, we're like so close, and that great tribulation is upon you, as the tribulation is played out for some of us in a spectrum the past since the dark sun has come. So this is where the millennium, the dark sun, all these things is taking people down, 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 and then now we're working our way back up, 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 and now this alien hybrid, or the alien deception cover up, and then confirming everything that we have seen and been grabbed in the fucking neck on our sleep, and wife had sleep paralysis the same night. All these things are all being kind of confirmed in different ways, shapes, and forms as since 2020. Had some weird shit going on with the dreams and visions, made me sick, and things were being kind of turned on, and it's like a full live DMT trip or whatever kind of going on as all this frequency exchange and whatever else, and the DMT connects you to the ayahuasca, which connects you to these trips where everybody kind of has the same kind of trip and it has that same base. And this is interesting because drugs, that's all internal. So each person has their own experience, and they are all, and your trip is not like my trip or whatever else. So when you come across a plant and everybody kind of has the same type of experience in different ways, so this is, and it's telling you, and the trees hold knowledge, and they connect to the fungi, and when you realize that the tree is actually growing from the light and gases and those types, it's very little earth in those trees. It's just using the earth or whatever, and this is all helps connects us. Man, there's so much. Either way, all the light, the trees, they hold the information, and the fungi, and when we grow plants and consume plants, and we know how to work the mycorrhizas and the fungi and such, and these things are giving us knowledge, and we give them knowledge, then they can give things knowledge. And this comes into so many different things because, oh man, that's a whole nother thing about where you could feed man's sperm is basically down, it's a program, and when you have plants that accumulate information, and this goes into some mythology or folklore about Adam and some stories with where he masturbated on the garden, but this is where you have somebody or whatever, you can ejaculate on the soil and water it into the plants, and then you can consume those plants. Okay, so that's where you'd be consuming your cannabis, you consume your semen, consume your urine, consume your shit, but you do it through cannabis, or you do it through holy basil, or these antigen plants, or those types of things. So, and it's with all things. It's with all food, and let food be thy met to sin. The sun and the sin, the moon god reflects the light of the sun. So this is where you become your own system and whatever kind of thing. So it's where they're teaching all this stuff in a weird, messed up, backwards fashion as you're going deeper and deeper and deeper, or whatever. This so-called parasites that run things or whatever, and you become that monitor and a shapeshifter, as this thing you hold is the monitor, and the underworld, the lizard people coming in and shape-shifting or whatever kind of thing going on. So this is where they merge with the machine and whatever else. So the more work they have done kind of thing, the more they are into that thing coming in and having fun with them in the stage. Okay, so where were we? As the hold on,